South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa joins me now. Your Excellency, it's lovely to see you after such a long time. Thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to start by asking you this. How badly will the Johnson & Johnson contamination problems in the United States affect South Africa's vaccine rollout?
Well, as it is now, it is affecting it quite negatively. We were supposed to have received quite a number of vaccines, but this contamination has delayed that. But we are rather pleased that Johnson & Johnson has agreed that they will replace those 2 million that we would have had, those that have had to be destroyed. They will replace them, and our vaccination process will get back on stream, and hopefully it will move a lot faster forward.
Do you envision reducing the order of 31 million doses from Johnson & Johnson and replacing it with other shots?
No, Johnson & Johnson vaccine has a number of great advantages for us because it's a one-shot jab dose, and yet the others are 2 doses. So that is preferable for us, particularly because a number of our people are in the rural areas and they have to be reached. It's better if we reach them once rather than twice. The other part of it is that the logistics are much more favorable because the storage thereof is quite good. It's just fridge temperature rather than very low temperatures. So that is conducive for our own situation. So we will not seek to replace or to reduce the 31 million. We will still need to add others, as we are doing so now with Pfizer, and we may also get to Sinovac. But Johnson & Johnson is going to be, if you like, the base load vaccine supply that we need. And more so because it's also produced here in South Africa. The factory is in the south of the country, in Port Elizabeth, which we now call Gqeberha. So made by South African workers, much as it is fashioned or developed by Johnson & Johnson, which is an American company.
Your Excellency, you have a situation where cases are surging. You just recently enforced new restrictions. You've had all these huge vaccine setbacks. And there's a third wave now in South Africa, and the vaccines aren't there. How did South Africa get in this kind of a situation and is now one of the least vaccinated nations in Africa?
Yes, we've just had a number of very unfortunate situations befalling us. We were supposed to be among the first of the blocks, as it were, when we ordered and got a supply from India of the AstraZeneca. We were meant to get, right at the start, 1 million, and our scientists, who are really good and well-renowned, had already started doing their work to find out what the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine would be. And they found that we had a different variant of the coronavirus and that the AstraZeneca would not really be appropriate for the variant that we had. So we had to drop that and had to then give them away to the rest of the continent. And that led to a time lag and a wait. And then we got the Pfizer, but in the meantime, we had already finalized an agreement with Johnson & Johnson, which we had already started using, which was part of the earlier process of finding out the efficacy of Johnson. So we were held back, but we are going to be back on stream because we now are firmly able to do about 100,000 a day, 150. We will be moving to 250,000 vaccinations a day. And so we will catch up the time that we have lost.
President Ramaphosa, what do you say to countries and pharma entities as well that are against patent waivers to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines? You've been very vocal about that. What do you have to say to them?
Well, we see that their refusal to waive this intellectual property provision that they have as part of vaccine nationalism. And we just don't understand the sense of it all, because all we are asking for together with India is that there should be a waiver for a 3-year period to enable countries that have the capability to be able to produce the vaccines. India and South Africa have the capability, and so do a number of other countries in the developing economy countries, and particularly on the African continent. And we say the continued refusal leads to inequity on vaccine. We are facing an emergency that is affecting the entire world, and it is wholly unfair and wholly unjust that pharmaceutical companies, as well as certain countries, are refusing to allow this provision to be waived so that there can be mass production of these vaccines so that we can save lives. And I think it is selfish, it is unjust, and it is wholly unfair. And we are going to continue insisting that there should be this waiver because we want to save lives, and that should be prominent in all our minds and in everything that we do, because no one is safe anywhere in the world without everyone being safe.
Pre-pandemic, Africa had 7 out of 10 countries in the world that had the fastest growing economies. Now, when you look at the continent, we're looking at something like, I believe it's negative 2.5% growth. And for the first time in 25 years, the continent is going to go into recession. How do you see an African recovery situation amid the fact that we're still doing emergency and response?
Well, our recovery as the African continent at an economic level is going to be constrained, and it's going to be rolled back. The progress that we were recording is going to be rolled back. And that's why we are saying that we need support, particularly those countries that are finding themselves in real dire straits. The developed economies are going to be getting 650 billion rand in SDRs, and we say some of those should be made available to economies or countries in Africa. And we've asked for 25% of that 650, which would amount to something like 160 billion. There is now on offer 100 billion, and we say, thank you very much. We need that, but we need more because our economies are going to need a lot of support. And it is only fair that a continent that has been growing by leaps and bounds should receive that type of support, because all of us must get out of this economic slump that has been brought onto us by COVID-19.
The United Nations Economic Commission for Africa puts that number needed for recovery at $400 billion. How are we going to close that financing gap?
Well, I think we can try all efforts to close that financing gap. The special drawing rights should be made available. Some debt needs to be cancelled that countries have, and more support should be given in debt payment delays. And there should also be support for infrastructure projects. There should be support for health programs that we have. And if we can do that, we can get closer to that 400 billion. But without that support, Africa will forever be left behind. And Africa had demonstrated that given the chance, it is able to surge forward. And we are saying what we need now is to be given that opportunity. We can get up and going with our own bootstraps, but we do need that lift. And developed economies have a duty. The other challenge is climate change. Africa is suffering from the ravages of climate change when it is least responsible for the damage that has been caused to the world climate. So we are saying on that as well, the developed economies must live up to the promises that they made, because we do need to have a differentiated approach on addressing climate change. Some of our economies have been ravaged and devastated because of climate change due to floods, droughts. So countries are having to utilize their budget to close these gaps. So support is needed, because it is important that all of us as countries in the world should grow, and we must grow together as we improve the lives of our people.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, thank you so much. And as we say in Kenya, asante sana.
Asante sana. Thank you.